I'm Tammy Smith of Healthy Transformations, Fun Fitness and Fabulous Food. I'm here today to talk about my 3 programs, Safe and Savory, a home-based exercise program here in my home in Bothell. And later on, we're going to be going to Hiking to Happiness. Today is our introductory hike for 2018. I take women on hiking excursions, kayaking trips, and overnight backpacks. Today we're going just down to Kenmore, a few miles from here, taking women to see the beautiful Northwest. And I always follow up with fun, fabulous food because women love to be nourished and nurtured. And when we're moving our bodies, we're just able to be more creative and come from a space of joy. After 30 plus years as a physical therapist, I've been licensed now for 35 years this year, I really became, frankly, overwhelmed and burned out with the traditional medical model. I also was experiencing my own anxiety and chronic pain and didn't really understand or connect the dots as to why I was carrying around the extra 15 pounds of weight and with that chronic pain. So between caring for others in my profession and being in that sandwich generation of caring for elderly, actually then dying parents and other loved ones in my family and becoming a grandmother, I realized that I could no longer just give all the time and needed to start feeding my soul and doing what really inspired me and what I was passionate about. So that's why I decided to attend the Institute for Integrative Nutrition, become a health coach, and live more in my passion. So I've been a physical therapist, like I said, for over 35 years and have worked in a variety of settings, most recently for 6 years in geriatric healthcare with a lot of joint replacements and chronic illness, and really was working at prolonging people's lives. And I'm very passionate about preventing illness in the first place. So that's why I wanted to change careers, so to speak, and really get people to start paying more attention and doing things that could prevent them from getting ill in the first place. Like I said, I'm also a health coach, and just as of this weekend, a wilderness first aid trained. So I'm anxious, and I'm not so anxious actually, to use those skills in the backcountry. However, feel much more confident in being able to do so if the situation arises. My physical therapy, again, I have worked in a variety of settings, from orthopedic injuries to back in the acute care, a lot of joint replacements, and just general wellness. But through the years, often the patients that would come to my schedule were those women who were chronic pain sufferers, fibromyalgia, or the chronic illnesses. The patients that no one else really wanted to see or didn't really know what to do with. And it really became evident that women needed an opportunity to tell their stories and to be heard, to be able to be vulnerable and to be able to be authentic, and to start connecting the dots that their emotional health really what was a big part of preventing them from healing in the first place, and perhaps maybe had a big contribution into what was causing some of the pain in the second place. Mostly through word of mouth. I do use some social media, LinkedIn, Facebook primarily, do Facebook Lives. I have a Facebook group for this program, Fun Fitness and Fabulous Health. But what I've found, and I do a fair amount of networking, but what I've found is that my best way of communicating with others is taking women on experiences, having them have an experience, whether it's a conversation. I don't meet women necessarily often to meet for coffee or for tea. I want to get them moving their bodies, so I meet them on a trail for a short walk or somewhere. And then, of course, opening up my home to have an exercise program here and provide for them a nice, nutritious, healthy meal afterwards. Again, the reason that women really resonate with Healthy Transformations and Fun Fitness and Fabulous Food is the food part. because I provide good, healthy food for them. And women have been, taking care of everyone else for so long, cooking for everyone else, and they love sitting around the dining room table, which they're doing right now, in fact, having an opportunity to be fed healthy food. So I generally always give gluten-free and dairy-free options, sometimes vegan, sometimes vegetarian, depending on their needs, sometimes ideal protein. I have a client right now that is in that program. So we mix it up, offer new recipes, give them inspiration to how they can start making small changes to improve their overall health. I want women to understand, and men as well, although my avatar is for women, I want them to understand that health doesn't need to be a really restricted, difficult thing, especially in regards to their nutrition. There's a bazillion dietary theories out there, and you do have to find the one that works for you. But if you just start making small changes, like cleaning up the toxicity in your environment, getting rid of the processed food, cutting down on your sugars, going organic for certain fruits and vegetables, for the Dirty Dozen specifically, making small changes over a longer period of time is what's going to sustain your health and your weight loss. So those, dietary programs, sometimes we need those to jumpstart what we need to do, but oftentimes they're not sustainable, and that's why there's such a huge yo-yo effect of you lose the 40 pounds, you gain 50 back. You lose 30 pounds, you gain 40 back. It's back and forth and back and forth. I've been hearing about this for, 30 years. I've never been much of a dieter myself, but like I said earlier, I did have that extra 10 to 15 pounds of weight, particularly around my midsection, which happens when we get into our 50s. And I didn't really realize that the more I exercised didn't make a difference. I've always been pretty fit and exercised a lot, but I still was carrying that weight. And what I learned when I went to the Institute for Integrative Nutrition was it wasn't about how much I ate, it was about what I was eating. Cutting down on the white flour, the white sugar. Not that I had very much at all ever eaten very much processed food, but I baked a lot, and I baked with white sugar and white flour. I was raised in North Dakota, a good Norwegian, so I baked a lot with dairy and sugar. So changing those up, and there are so many really good healthy substitutes out there now that you can continue to get really good flavor and really good baked goods without using all the processed ingredients. And then also how we respond to food, how we relate to food. And oftentimes, even for myself, now I ask myself the question, what am I really hungry for? Am I hungry for connection? Am I hungry for relationship? Am I hungry for quiet time or activity sometimes? You know how sometimes we're bored, so we go to the pantry and start munching on stuff. And knowing that I'm going to do that sometimes because my emotions are going to trigger that, what I have in my pantry is important. I don't have things in there that I used to have in there because, like Girl Scout cookies, I'm not going to have Girl Scout cookies in my pantry because if they're there, I'm probably going to eat them, right? So I have healthier alternatives because we're always on that path of that journey of health, and the health is so much our emotional well-being as well. When we get irritated or frustrated, I sit behind my computer and I just get overwhelmed sometimes. And what do we do when we get overwhelmed? Maybe we're going to pour ourselves a glass of wine. I do that too. Or go to the pantry and start, eating chips. So making those connections between what it is that's triggering us to maybe make those not so healthy life choices. Oftentimes diet. Other times, is our body really needing for us to get up and start moving? Sitting is the new smoking. We're just sitting way entirely too much. So that's one of the passions I really have about getting women moving in the outdoors. Breathing more heavily or more deeply. Again, when we're sitting, we're compressed. We're not breathing very well. And women, again, we need connection. We want connection. We love to experiment conversations with other women, sharing our journeys, our struggles. Myself, having lost a lot of loved ones, having been married and divorced, having been a single parent, just a wide range of things, dealing with, years ago, eating disorders, again, chronic pain, all those things that we don't need to go through those things by ourselves. It's so much easier if we share our stories and we learn from other women who have gone through it, and we just become authentic and vulnerable with them. I know myself, sometimes I feel like, I got to do this, I got to do this. And that, all those past messages of achieving for other people's expectations, whether it's parents or spouses or employers, all those things, instead of really working and living from the core of our soul and who we really are, what's best for us, what brings us joy, that's what I really want to help women with. That's part of their self-care. Self-care is deeper than getting her nails done or getting her hair done. For me, it definitely is moving my body. It's getting enough sleep. That's the other thing. We don't get enough sleep. I really encourage women to get, everyone, to get 7 or 8 hours of sleep a night. When I don't, I got two nights in a row recently, I got 6 hours of sleep. And when that happens to me, I get weepy. I get irritable, but I mostly get weepy. And when we don't get our sleep too, that starts the downward spiral of other health issues. So that's probably the number one thing I encourage women. That's the biggest form of self-care that you can give yourself, is to be sure that you get enough sleep. And then when you get to be my age, you're menopausal, there's a lot of things that are going on that maybe be affecting your sleep, and hot flashes and whatever else. So figuring out what those are. Oftentimes it's what we eat. It's because we're not moving our bodies enough, or because we aren't taking care of our other emotional needs. So that's what I like to bring to women. The fun, fitness, and fabulous food part is, of course, moving our bodies, being with friends, and then giving them a little bit of a hoorah, good job, this is your reward, with a good spread of amazing food. The way women get a hold of me, actually my website is www.tammywilsonsmith.com. I have 3 programs on there. And the current program that is going on right now through the middle of April is called Safe and Savory. And this I do in my home here in Bothell. Right now we're outside on my covered patio. And this is a home-based exercise program. So we have stations, primarily working on core and leg and arm strength, but there's cardio, there's stretching, really being individualized with each woman that comes, because I'm able to do that with my expertise in physical therapy. Every woman that shows up, she might be 27, she might be 70. I've had that big range of women. They all have or have had a certain amount of pre-existing or issue. They may be, and it's not necessarily obesity, it's not necessarily pain. However, most of the time it is, or it's dysfunction. A lot of them have shoulder pain, shoulder dysfunction, right shoulder pain, because as women we've been, carrying babies and groceries and cooking and all that stuff out in front here, and now we're sitting at computers. So many of the women have shoulder problems, and they're afraid to go to the gym because they maybe have had an experience, or have had someone tell them about experience of working with an athletic trainer, a personal trainer, who maybe pushed them a little too hard and they got hurt. So I'm really, really careful about helping assure that people are safe. That's the safe part. And then, of course, the savory part is they're sitting at the dining room table afterwards having a nice meal together. So the other part of the safety being that there's an opportunity there again for them to be in an emotionally safe environment where they feel comfortable sharing experiences and maybe the struggles that they're going through with life right now. My last program, there's a wide variety of women. Some are widows. Some have even lost children. Some have special needs children. Some have been divorced or are wanting to be divorced. So just being able to be in that safe environment to share that emotional stuff that is the thing that's getting them to the pantry or pouring the extra glass of wine at the end of the day anyhow. Having that opportunity to get that out of their bodies, again, moving and sharing through their heart, is so helpful for them. Oftentimes my clients come to me through that word of mouth. They've had a good experience. This all started basically last summer when I was going through a difficult family challenge myself. My brother-in-law was gravely ill, and I was very anxious about how can I help my sister? How can I be present to her? and still run my health coaching business. And I knew that I needed, for me, when I get anxious, the best thing I can do is to move my body. So I started just making events on Facebook and inviting women to go on little hiking trips locally here with me. And I did 11 hikes, short hikes, most of them. I think only one was moderate. And I got such amazing feedback. Women would show up at these trailheads, women I hadn't even met before, because they had heard about it word of mouth. And I would carry the 30-pound pack on my back, and we'd get to our destination and have a big spread, and they loved it. So I decided that this year I was going to expand on that program, and I have 22 hikes scheduled for the summer. But then I thought, oh, wintertime, I'm not going to take people hiking in the rain and maybe snow and ice. So I decided to open up my home and start doing a fitness class for women in order to get in shape for hiking. So that's been really fun. And it's also helped me tremendously because I'm not sitting at my computer for those first 4 hours of the day. I may not be able to get that great of an exercise class in myself, but at least I'm moving and I'm demonstrating, and that has really helped my chronic back pain as well. So that's two of the programs. And then the third program I do is called Play with Purpose. Those are retreats. Currently I do 2 a year. My first one is in about a month, actually, in April, in Leavenworth, Washington. And I call them Play with Purpose retreats because, again, I want to provide an environment, a safe environment for women to play more. We need more joy in our life. I know I need to play more. I've been kind of a people pleaser, overachiever, workaholic my whole life. And that was really taking the joy out of my existence. And you couple that with, as we get older, we're caregiving all the time, especially those of us in the sandwich generation. Our parents are elderly or have passed. We've become grandparents. Perhaps we have adult children moving back in. All of that happened to me in the last 5 years, 7 years. And it is such a heavy burden on us. And we just get going in the to-do mode and soldier up and keep going and keep going. And we stop paying attention to what our needs are and what our soul's purpose really is and what feeds us, because we're feeding everybody else in every aspect of the way. So that's why I call it Play with Purpose. So we're going to go to these retreat places. I'm going to lead some hikes. I prepare and provide the food for the women that are there. We have massage, yoga, maybe some Reiki. And it's not a really structured environment. It's just doing what you want to do. If you want to read, if you want to journal, if you want to go shopping or wine tasting, whatever it might be. So I hope to really expand these retreats to national. I don't hope to, I will. National and perhaps international in the next few years. But right now they're in Washington State in April and October. So that's my Play with Purpose retreats. And women can find me again at www.tammywilsonsmith.com or on my Facebook page, Healthy Transformations. My hikes for Hiking to Happiness are on the north end. My home is in Bothell, Washington, so I try to avoid traffic as much as I can. So we hike off of Highway 2 or the Mountain Loop Highway most of the time when we go for full-day hikes. My half-day hikes are within a half-hour drive from my home. We go to St. Edward's Park in Kenmore. We go down to Meadowdale Beach Park in Edmonds. We go to a place in Woodinville, Conservation Valley, another place up in Snohomish. Those are fairly easy, half-day, fairly level hikes. Then as we get a little bit more moderate, we might go out a little bit further, maybe everything is pretty much within an hour drive, except with one exception. In July, we're going to be going down to Mount Rainier and hiking Spray Falls and Spray Park. That is quite a little trek. My hikes tend to be on Tuesdays and Wednesdays during the week and about every other Saturday. I also have 3 overnight hikes planned, so backpacking trips, which I can also provide extra equipment. If people don't have tents, I need for them to bring their own sleeping bags for sanitary purposes, but if they don't have their own tents or they don't have their own stove, I don't want them to go out and make that big initial purchase. If this is the first time they've ever done backpacking and they're not quite sure they're going to like it, I have extra gear for them for that purpose. But we're going to do, again, those hikes are going to be off either Highway 2 or Mountain Loop Highway, about an hour and a half from here. They range anywhere from a 3-mile hike in, 2 to 3 mile hike, to perhaps a 4-mile hike in with a little bit more elevation gain. We even have 2 hikes that we're going to be doing for grandparents and grandchildren in July. One of them is a easy day hike to the ice caves off of Mountain Loop Highway. The second one is an overnight backpack trip. We have a little 7-year-old grandson, so we're going to take him on his first overnight trip, and we would love to invite a couple of other groups, family groups, to come with us to experience that together. So those are, the majority of the hikes are in this northern area. We can carpool from my home in Bothell, so I encourage people that they don't have to necessarily drive to the trailhead. Perhaps they're visiting from another area and they want to come to Seattle and do something other than the Seattle city scene. They want to go out and experience the beautiful Pacific Northwest. And I'm telling you, we have beautiful mountains here and beautiful areas. So you can Uber or carpool from to my house, and we'll drive together to the trailhead. I have parking passes. I just ask that you bring your own water bottle, your own water. I have hiking sticks. I have some extra backpacks. Of course, I carry the first aid kit, and as I mentioned, I was just wilderness first aid trained this past weekend. Another thing I offer is some short little kayak expeditions from around, not really an expedition, just like an hour or 2 excursion on Lake Washington. Again, both of those are within a half-hour time distance from my home in Bothell. One is in Kirkland at Juanita Beach. The other one is in Log Boom Park in Kenmore, Washington. So we meet up or carpool from my home, go down there. Kayaks are available to rent at both of those places. We kayak for an hour, and then again, I have the big, fabulous food, the lunch provided for you in my car. We have a big picnic lunch, and we experience that fun afterwards. We did a few of those last year. I think we did 6 last year, perhaps. We have 6 more scheduled for this year. So primarily, the big hiking months are July, August, and September, because that's when we have our best weather around here. But I do have some starting already in May, and I have a full schedule on my website, tammywilsonsmith.com. Doing this, be sure, so that's what the sticks are for. I would like you to hold on to a stick with your other arm if you can. Okay. Just because, so opposite the leg you're standing on. So if you're standing on your left leg, which you are, put the stick in your other hand. Okay? And the reason you're doing that is so that you're taking a little bit of the pressure off of your opposite hip. The hip that you're standing on is the one that's going to get tired, more so than your thigh on the other one. All right, so you got a stick there? Good, good. Okay, so go ahead and you're going to do 12, nice and slow. So slower is better. It's not about, and then kind of notice if your balance is compromised a little bit, you might want to get a little closer to the less resistance on the band. Only move the joint. This is an isolated exercise, so you're just wanting to move through the hip, so it's of the glutes. Okay. You've got your minimus, your medius, and your maximus. So that's the one that is your abductor, which is the muscle that not only stabilizes us. So you're using your glute medius on your left leg. Which is also the one that is weak in a lot of people and can cause, especially with women, medial knee pain on that leg because
or something. That's not.
Yeah, somebody else just told me they hurt their back. Oh, you know, my niece who's 25. Okay. And you can go backwards. I would say everybody go, when you come down, either go off backwards or go off sideways.
Oh, okay.
If you feel really good and you want to go off frontwards, it's fine as long as you don't have any low back problem. When you go off forwards, you just have to bend your knees a little bit more and be sure I'm in a little forward position. It's like when you come down a really deep, a really high step or you're hiking or whatever, your back goes into extension and it kind of can hurt. Okay.
I think I'll.
So I want you to go frontwards or sideways. Yeah. I mean backwards or sideways. But if you want to try forward, just as long as you're stabilizing here. Okay? All right. So when you get to this, I'll help you with this. Okay. So I want you to do this. Okay. And then when you're up here, stand for a minute and then back down. Okay. I'm going to start with that, and then you can also, when you get up here, do a little bit of a squat and a side thing like this. Okay. Let's try that. Palms down. It's like you're. Oh, this is a little too slow for us. Uh-oh. That's a button to push. And you're gonna do this. Okay, you're just gonna, and if you want to just do without the ball, you can. But you can notice that you get better when, think about your feet close together. Yeah, not touching the ball that way, but maybe feet close together. Feet close together, and you're gonna see if you can't raise one leg and get your balance going there, okay? I'm gonna work with you on this a little bit. Okay. Rock bar. We got your feet here. Okay. Okay, so you're sitting really good, solid. Okay, get your balance first before you.
Oh, okay.
Feel it good? You gotta have good balance here.
Okay.
Before you can try to raise one leg.
Okay.
All right, so try. Hold it. See if you can hold it out there. No, use those muscles to keep it out there. Good. See that?
Okay.
Good. Okay, try the other leg. Might be different on one side.
Yeah. Yeah, it is different.
Lift your hands, okay? Slowly go back.
Oh, okay.
So it's core. Yeah, that's and then you kind of see which your legs are so long. That was almost too short for you. From here, and just do a little range here. So stay reclined the whole time. Then you're gonna up to about here. Keep your butt up. Okay. Stable here.
Okay.
Okay. Squeeze. Now going back is the tricky part. I want to keep my heels underneath my knees the whole time.
Right.
My butt's up. I'm starting to lift my head, but I don't start coming up until I feel my butt hit the ball.
Okay.
Now, don't push with your feet, because that's cheating.
That's what I would do.
Yeah, everybody does. Everybody cheats. Now, go really slow. My heels stay underneath my knees the whole time, and I'm engaging here
Okay.
to go up slowly.
You're not pushing yourself.
Right, because what people want to do, I can do it all with my legs.
Yeah.
Great leg exercise. I'm not using my abs at all.
Yeah.
Or I can come to here, and then when I get to here, I go, "Ah!" and I use my upper abs.
Yeah.
But I want you to engage your lower abs. Oh. Okay, so you're engaging your abs, but you're also really good, or blanket, or really good shoulder stable. Put your elbows down and closer to your body. Like that. So that's a little bit easier.
Yeah.
Okay, or a little harder, I mean. Even more difficult, or straight up. So, feel those hamstrings burn?
They will, I'm sure.
Okay. Okay, so Catherine, put your arms back down. Now you're pretty stable here. Yeah. So dig with your heels and see if you can't position so your thumb is up, if you can, if it's not too funky with the limb stretch. So, and you might, notice if you put your palm up, keep your arms straight. It's harder if you keep your arms straight than if you put your thumb up. If you find that you have to bend your elbow, then you're probably giving yourself too much resistance. Or you're, starting too far away. Just watch it, you're protecting your wrist. Your wrist stays neutral the whole time. Okay? Not isolating, and you might be doing you go up, be sure that you don't go so far that any of this happens to your back.
Okay.
Tightening your abs. And what helps to tighten your abs and put yourself in. About your body's energy and meditation, but just like a little guided exercise.
Okay.
Down a road, if you were to let go, car's going to go right or left, and our job is just kind of always sort of not just be like going through these motions of I'm connecting chakras, but you'll tune in for wisdom from each of those parts. Okay, so I'll just give you an example, right? So just imagine right now that you're conscious, dimensionless, multi-dimensional, right? And that point of awareness has a radiance. And that radiance is like a flashlight. So wherever you focus its attention, it shines light into that area. Shift. It's very subtle. And if you don't again, sending love and this to that upper leg, that point, the entire area between your
chakra. And seeing what you sense. Is there tightness in the hip? And now, you put your foot down, you put our hands on both hips, bouncing between your hands, filling that whole abdomen area. You could even do like an infinity sign, going on, coming from there when you're alone. You could let that come out. You might be surprised what kind of a song you hear. There's some tribes in Africa where the woman, when she's ready to have a baby, goes off under a tree until she hears the song of the child that wants to come. And then one hand up to your brow chakra. That beautiful place of wisdom, that place that allows you to hear your inner voice. And seeing if that area feels clear of filters, because we often have so many filters and preconceived ideas of how things should be, sort of our limiting beliefs. So, and then one hand up to our crown, the point where we're able to connect to our higher power. And always up at this point, checking in with yourself to see whether. Namaste.
Thank you so much for sharing with me today healthy transformations, fun fitness, and fabulous food. You can contact me at Tammy at TammyWilsonSmith.com. Follow me on Facebook at Healthy Transformations. And be sure to visit my website, www.TammyWilsonSmith.com, for my full schedule of hiking to happiness, safe and savory, play with purpose retreats, and those kayaking trips as well. Thank you so much.